IPSec site-to-site VPN in tunnel mode. Okay everyone, so in this section we're going to be looking at the IPSec VPN tunnel in the Palo Alto Firewall. In this particular video we're going to be configuring an IPSec VPN in tunnel mode. In tunnel mode, we don't have an IP address assigned to the tunnel interface. We just point to that tunnel once we create the configs for that particular IPSec tunnel. Our destination will be pointing to the tunnel interface, and as long as we have the policies in place, we should be good to go and reach that other machine in the other location. So if you take a look at my diagram that I have right here, so I have site A and I have a PC and it's on the 1010 network. And site B, I have a server, and the server is 10.20.0.10. So it's on the 1020 network. We have that facing on the inside, and on the outside, we have reachability between those two sites via the internet. So we are going to use the internet to establish an IPSec VPN tunnel, configure the required authentication and encryption settings, and allow communication from this site to this site. In this particular scenario, I'm going to do this demonstration very dynamic. We're going to do a scenario which is going to be very common as a network security engineer. You're most definitely going to be assigned a task to build a tunnel between two locations. And I just prepared that section outline that will include a real scenario where it's very common to deploy this type of solution. In case you might not need to have a dedicated MPLS circuit or dedicated line, we can just use the internet to do that communication between two companies or two sites and allow private traffic across the WAN. So let's get started with this particular session. Okay, so I have here our session demonstration, which will involve configuring a tunnel mode IPsec site-to-site VPN. So in the scenario, it says, Company Sky has just partnered with Company C. So we got two companies, Company Sky and Company C. You are currently working as a network security engineer with Sky, and the IT director has requested you to build a virtual private tunnel with Company C. And now that we partner with Company C, we're working for Company Sky. We need to build a site-to-site tunnel in order for us to reach their network over the WAN. And it might be because we're not ready to have a dedicated line and we need to have some sort of private connectivity between the two companies. So this is a great way to do it. Okay, Company Sky and C have agreed in the security parameters for their new VPN tunnel connection. Okay, so now that we have met with the CIT people, decided some security mechanisms that we want to put in place in order for us to make the connection secure and encrypt all traffic as it goes through the WAN. We have already identified our peer IPs, and by the way, the peers are the outside IP where you're going to be pointing your IPsec tunnel gateway configuration in order to establish that site-to-site VPN tunnel. So you need to point to that public IP, and in this case we have Company Sky, peer IP of Company Sky, which is the company that we're working for. It's going to be 24.155.99.53. And Company C peer IP is 24.95.211.199. So we have that information. We have the two peer IPs, and this is important because on one side of the tunnel, this is one peer, and the other side of the tunnel is the other peer. Okay, and now we also have the phase one. So this is the initial session that the Palo Altos will try to establish to build the tunnel. You have to agree. So both configurations on Palo Alto and Company Sky and Palo Alto and Company C, they need to be equally matching. So we need to match the same encryption and authentication and the pre-shared key in order for us to build that phase one. Once we succeed on phase one, we'll then go into phase two, which is the IPsec crypto phase, where we're actually encapsulating the traffic itself. So once the traffic starts flowing via the tunnel, we're actually encrypting it before it goes out to the WAN. So we are negotiating based on the information that we got from C. We are encrypting AES 256 and we're doing a SHA-1 off, and we're doing DH group 2 with a key lifetime of 8 hours, and we have the pre-shared key as you can see here on the screen. On phase 2 is very similar. We are doing ESP, AES 256, SHA-1, and we're not doing perfect forward secrecy. Key lifetime, again, 8 hours. So it's pretty much similar for phase 1 and phase 2. So we need to make sure that we're configuring exactly as it's actually telling us to configure in order for us to confirm that we are going to have a successful tunnel build. And then our supervisor has requested that only your local LAN subnet of 10.10.0.0.24 can talk to C. In this case, C is the company C, and its local subnet of 10.20.0.0.24. So this is your traffic. This is the actual interesting traffic between the two locations that is going to be flowing over that IPsec site-to-site VPN tunnel. So we need to make sure that we have security policies in place to allow that traffic through, but also avoid any other traffic that we don't want to allow over that VPN site-to-site tunnel. We need to make sure that the VPN tunnel is completely encrypted end-to-end between those two companies in order for us to confirm that we have a secure and completely private traffic over the internet. And finally, we'll please confirm on the virtual machine of 10.10.0.10 that is able to reach the server in the C's network of 10.20.0.10 once the tunnel is built. So we need to confirm after everything is done that we can ping end-to-end from 10.10.0.10 to 10.20.0.10. That will tell us that the tunnel has been established. Okay, so C company has given us the go-ahead to build the tunnel configurations because company C Firewall, they already have everything configured and they're just waiting for us to configure our side and we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and begin. In order for us to configure an IPsec tunnel, there's 3 items that we need to pre-configure. Number 1, the iKey crypto profile. So this is basically the profile that is going to have that authentication and encryption settings that were requested to us in order for us to encrypt the traffic and secure the tunnel. So I already have some predefined ones. So on your Palo Alto, you're going to have some predefined iKey crypto profiles. In this case, because we're actually going to do a different type of encryption and authentication, we need to create our own. In order for us to do that, we just need to click on Add, and then label iKey crypto profile, and then add the settings that were required in order for us to build the tunnel. Okay, so I just label it CVPN iKey crypto profile that belongs to the CVPN tunnel. It's telling us for phase 1, and by the way, that will be your iKey crypto, so you can see right here, we're configuring the phase 1 setting. We need to add AES-256, we need to add SHA-1, we need to add the DH group number 2, and we need to add a key lifetime of 8 hours along with the pre-share key. The pre-share key is actually configured on the iKey gateway, which we're going to be doing in a bit. Okay, so let's add those settings onto the iKey crypto profile. So we start by adding the DH group, and it's group 2. Encryption, we're going to do AES-256. Authentication, we're going to do SHA-1. And the lifetime is going to be 8 hours, which is already set. We'll press OK. And we're good to go on the iKey crypto profile. Now we need to configure an IPsec crypto profile. We'll click on IPsec, and this is phase 2. So if you want to remember this as a more familiar term, so it's phase 2 in your IPsec VPN. So phase 2, those are the settings right here. So if you have some troubleshooting and you see the logs that you're not able to bring phase 2 up, your issue might be right here. So you might want to remember that iKey crypto is phase 1, IPsec crypto is phase 2. And again, we have some predefines, but we're going to build a custom one. Click on Add. Okay, in this case, I label it CVPN IPsec crypto, and we're going to add the encryption. Let's double confirm that we have the right information. Okay, for IPsec crypto, based on the information that we got the protocol ESP, encryption AES-256, authentication SHA-1. We're not doing perfect for secrecy, and we're going to have an 8-hour key lifetime. Okay, so let's add the encryption, and it's going to be 256CBC. We're going to add no perfect for secrecy. In this case, see here under DH group, you want to select no PFS. Lifetime, 8 hours, and the authentication, it was going to be SHA-1. IPsec protocol is already set as ESP. Okay, so we have all the information on the IPsec crypto profile. We'll click OK. And now let's build that iKey gateway. This is the gateway that will establish that VPN connectivity, and it will try to establish that tunnel with the C company, which is our other end of the tunnel. We'll click on Add. In this case, we can label this as the CVPN gateway. And version, You can select versions that you want to, that you are required to establish. In our case, we're just doing IPv1, but definitely IPv2 is more secure. So you want to make sure that any tunnels you want to build in an IPv2. For this demonstration, we're just doing IPv1. Interface. In interface, we're going to select the outside interface. Remember, this is the interface that's going to trigger that connectivity request to the other side of the tunnel. So we're going to select our outside interface in the IKE gateway. Okay, so we have the CVPN gateway name, and we're going to select the outside interface on the IKE gateway. So this is the interface that faces the outside network or the internet, and the local IP address of the interface, we need to select that. So we have here under the interface our local IP address. And by the way, you don't need to select specifically the interface IP. You can actually allocate a different public IP as your VPN peer, but in our case, we are just using the interface IP. And then this is where we actually configure the peer address. So if you see here, the peer type is going to be an IP address. You can use DNS name or fully qualifying domain name. If you want to use a domain name rather than having a public IP, you can do so. But in our case, we're just doing an IP. Okay, so we're going to add the peer address for the C company's firewall. So C peer IP, let's copy the public IP, and we're going to paste it right here on our peer address. And then we finally need to add the pre-shared key. Let's go ahead and copy the pre-shared key. And let's go ahead and paste it right here. And local identification and peer identification. Okay, so if you want to add a specific attribute that you need to match on both sides, meaning that I am going to send this particular attribute as soon as I'm trying to establish my tunnel, and my other side of the tunnel will need to see that I'm sending this particular attribute in order for me to build the tunnel. So I need to see, for example, if I want to make it more secure, I can say, well, if I'm sending my request using a fully qualified domain name, on the other side of the tunnel, you should definitely also be specifying that in order for tunnel to be built. So you need to make sure that if you're using an identification on that IPSec tunnel, both ends, they are agreeing on which option or which name or setting that you added so a tunnel builds. In our case, I'm just going to leave it as known. Okay, an advanced option. We can do NAT-T, so if we're behind another router, we can enable NAT-T, NAT traversal, or we can make this as a passive mode IKE gateway. In our case, we're not doing either of that. We're just doing a straightforward tunnel, very simple. Okay, an exchange mode. We can select either auto, so it auto negotiates what's the exchange mode for IPv1. And this is where we select that crypto profile. Do you remember when we configured that crypto profile? This is where we're going to select that. Gotta go ahead and select our CVPN IKE crypto. And we're not doing DPD, so that peer detection, we're just going to disable that. And we'll press OK. So now we have the IKE gateway. Let's finally build a tunnel. We'll click on IPSec tunnels. I'll click on add. We need to label this tunnel as CVPN site to site. Tunnel interface. Okay. So you need to create a tunnel interface on the Palo Alto, and this is the interface that you're going to be pointing your traffic in order for it to reach the other end of the tunnel, meaning that this is like a virtual interface that is attached to the IPSec tunnel, and this virtual interface actually is assigned to a zone, to a security zone. Via this tunnel interface, this is where we can actually police the traffic and add rules, etc. In my case, I'm going to select a particular interface, or I can create a new one. So in this case, let's go ahead and create a new interface. We're going to click new tunnel interface, and we're going to add this onto my default router. And I am going to add this to the CVPN security zone. And by the way, you need to configure a security zone and for this particular tunnel. So for any tunnel traffic, you need to also create a security zone so you can then create policies and apply them inbound or outbound onto that zone. So in our case, I already did the CVPN zone. I'm just going to add this on the tunnel interface. IPv4, because this is tunnel mode, we're not actually adding an IP address to this tunnel interface. In interface mode, then we can add a particular IP. IPv6, same. We're not in advanced, we're not going to attach any management profiles. We'll click OK. And then finally, we are going to select our IKE gateway that we previously configured with that outside interface and the peer IP and the pre-shared key, etc. Select that here and the IPSec crypto profile that we configure right at the beginning. Let's find that IPSec crypto. Here we go. And finally, proxy IDs. We need to add the interesting traffic or the private traffic that will pass through the tunnel. Proxy ID, we can label this CVPN tunnel traffic local. So this is my local subnet that is going to be allowed to go over the tunnel to reach the C network. 10.10.00.24 is my local side, the inside network, and on the remote side it's going to be 10.20.00. And there you go. And protocol, I can select a specific protocol. In my case, I'm just going to allow all. Okay, so we have the proxy IDs. We'll press OK, and we'll commit. Once we commit, then we'll see if the tunnel establishes. Okay, so now we see that we have an IPSec tunnel configured. We have the CVPN site to site, and you can see the status here. We have two status indicators. The first status indicator is phase 2. So if we're passing phase 2, this should turn green, but it will not pass into a green state until the first phase, which is phase 1, turns green. So we need to see this one first becoming green, and then the second one should become green right after. And now we know that we have a fully established VPN tunnel. Let's do a refresh to see if it actually establishes. And no, it does not establish. We need to add a route. However, the route should not make this go up or down. In order for it to go up or down, we got to initialize some sort of traffic. So we might as well configure the route so we can point the traffic via tunnel. Let's go ahead and create that route that will point to the C private network via the tunnel interface that we just built. Okay, so let's go ahead and into static routes. And I'm going to add a route. We're going to CVPN 10.20.00.24, and let's add that destination here. And this is where we're going to select that tunnel interface that we created when we did the IPSec tunnel config. And in this case, it's tunnel 3. Next hop. Interesting. We don't have a next hop IP, and the reason why we're not doing interface mode, we're just doing tunnel mode. We just need to select the interface 3, and then the next hop address. It's none. We're just telling the Palo Alto, hey, there's no next hop, just send it over this tunnel interface. And the Palo Alto will be smart enough to just send the traffic over there. And if everything is configured correctly, you should have traffic flow end to end. We'll press OK, and we'll press OK here. One last thing that we need. So let's go ahead and create two policies. One to allow traffic out to the tunnel from our internal network, and another policy allowing inbound traffic from the VPN tunnel to our inside environment. Click on Policies, Security, and we're going to click Add and create those two rules. And the first rule will be inside to CVPN tunnel. And source, it's going to be the inside. Source address, we don't want to leave this in any. Even though that we leave this in any, my proxy ID that we configure on the IPSec tunnel will not allow the traffic unless you're coming from this particular IP. My source address will be the 10.10.00/24. My destination is going to be the CVPN zone. Remember, we need to have a zone attached to that tunnel interface that is pointing to the IPSec tunnel. CVPN, destination address, and this will be the destination on the C's network side of the tunnel. So we need to confirm that we have this subnet added onto the policy so we can communicate with it. And then we'll allow, and we should be good on that. So now we need to make another one from ingress traffic from the C network. So from C, if they try to reach to our network, we need to allow that traffic rule as well. So let's go ahead and add that rule. And for that, we're going to just do a clone. I can clone this and then basically flip the zones and flip the addresses, and we should be good to go. Press OK here. And now we have it here. So let's relabel this. Okay, we're going to relabel this as CVPN tunnel to inside, because now this is the inbound traffic. Source. In this case, we're going to add CVPN as our source zone, because now this is ingress traffic. And we're going to add that 10.2. We're going to add their network as the source network. Destination, we're going to add the inside zone, because now we're having ingress traffic from the tunnel. We're going to add the 10.10.00.24. Okay, and we have now the 10.10.0.24 as the destination. And we'll just leave this in any, and allow. Okay, and now we should be able to see some sort of traffic going over the tunnel. So let's take a look at that. I'm just committing. We'll wait for this and we'll check. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. Go to networks. Let's go to IPSec tunnels. And we're still seeing this in red. Both of them, actually. Phase 1 and Phase 2. I have a cool trick that I can show you to generate some sort of traffic. You can either start pinging from the end machine, or we can use the Palo Alto to bounce and try to establish that tunnel. So let's open the console for this, and we're going to do a test command. we're going to bring some sort of traffic going on the tunnels to see if we can bring both faces up. Okay, so I am console onto my Palo Alto. This is the Sky Company's Palo Alto. And we want to bounce the tunnel to see if the tunnel comes up. So let's go ahead and do a test. And this is the way that you can try to initiate tunnel traffic. We're going to type test VPN. And then we want to try to establish phase 1, which is IPSec. And now it's asking us for the gateway, which we're going to add the command gateway. And then now we're going to select create a gateway that we just created before. We created this CVPN gateway. Let's add this CVPN gateway and we'll press enter. Okay, so now you can see that the Palo Alto initiated IPv1 SA. So let's try to see if there's some sort of activity going on the tunnel now. Let me refresh. And there you go. So now we have IKE phase 1 showing green. That means it has established. And let's do the same thing for now phase 2, which is the IPSec SA. Okay, the same command, but in this case, instead of IKE SA, we're gonna use IPSec SA. And then we select tunnel and the name of the tunnel. Okay, and now we can see the initiated IPSec SA 1. So it tried to initiate IPSec, which is phase 2. Let's take a look and see if now we're showing green. Let's refresh, and boom, we now have a fully established tunnel. Now we should be able to ping end to end. Let's take a look and see from the machine, which is the 10.10.0.10, to see if we can ping 10.20.0.10. Okay, so let's bring PC1 and see if we can ping from our network to the C company network. Okay, so I just brought my virtual machine, and this machine is on the 10.10.0.10. We're going to see if we can ping 10.20.0.10, and that will tell us that we have full reachability over the tunnel. And boom, yes, we definitely have reachability. That's a very, very good sign. So let's go ahead and leave this running and see the Palo Alto runtime stats to confirm that we're actually encapsulating and decapsulating traffic. So we're encrypting the traffic over the tunnel. And we should also see that we have the security policy getting hit counts. Okay, let's first of all, let's take a look at the tunnel, and you can click here on tunnel info on the IPSec tunnels, and this will tell you the stats. And yes, we can definitely see that we're getting packets encapsulated and decapsulated. If we keep refreshing, this should increment, and there you go, it's actually incrementing. So that tells us that that ping that I'm actually executing on the PC is actually going over the tunnel to the CVPN company. Okay, so let's take a look at the security policy and let's confirm if we're getting hit counts. And yes, we definitely are getting hit counts from the inside, because remember, my machine is sitting on the 10.10 network, and we're going to the CVPN tunnel or the CVPN company network to the 10.20.0.10, that's the machine. We're getting hit counts, so that means that we're definitely hitting the policy. And yeah, if we refresh, we definitely have traffic going on, so this is a complete success. Okay everyone, in our next video we're gonna discuss IPsec site-to-site VPN in interface mode. Thank you for watching.